But then during the years, you see yourself as a good product that sits on a shelf and sells well, and people make a lot of money out of you. When no one listens to you, or you feel no one's listening to you, all sorts of things start to happen. For instance, you have so much pain inside yourself that you try and hurt yourself on the outside because you want help, but it's the wrong help you're asking for. People see it as crying wolf or attention seeking, and they think because you're in the media all the time, you've got enough attention, inverted commas. But I was actually crying out because I wanted to get better in order to go forward and continue my duty and my role as wife, mother, Princess of Wales.
Diana Frances Spencer Dot was born in July 1, 1961, at Sandringham, Norfolk, England. Diana came from aristocratic family. They have connections to the royal family. She was the third child and youngest daughter of Edward John Spencer Viscount Althorp, heir to the 7th Earl Spencer, and his first wife, Frances Ruth Burke Roche, daughter of the 4th Baron Fermoy. She grew up with two older sisters, Sarah and Jane, and a younger brother, Charles. Diana has another brother, John, died the year before Diana was born. The Spencer family is one of the oldest and most blue-blooded in England, with noble lineage dating back to the 1500s. Diana's childhood playmates were the Queen's younger sons, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. Instead of a normal primary school or preschool, Diana was initially educated at home by a governess. Her first real school experience was at Silfield Private School in Gayton, Norfolk, followed by an all-girls boarding prep school and Riddlesworth Hall School when she was 9. However, her official bio on the royal family's website notes that she showed a particular talent for music, as an accomplished pianist, dancing and domestic science, and gained the school's award for the girl giving maximum help to the school and her schoolfellows. Diana remained at Westheath until she was 16 years old, so some of what we would consider her high school education took place there. She also demonstrated her love for dance, with ballet and tap in particular, though her height and her aristocratic background prevented her from pursuing it further. At the age of 16, Diana left her formal education behind and instead was sent to Institut Alpen Vidimanet, an elite finishing school in Rougemont, Switzerland. She stayed there through the spring of 1978, and then returned to London. It might seem surprising, but that finishing school in Switzerland was the last of Princess Diana's formal education. She never attended university at all, and her high school education had ended at 16. Finishing school was more of a social formality, and her education in Switzerland included things such as sewing and learning French, but nothing academic. It's a testament to the times and to the norms of the aristocracy that it was still considered necessary for a woman of a certain social class to learn etiquette rather than academic subjects.
Had you always wanted to have a family?
Yes, I came from a family where there were 4 of us, so we had enormous fun there.
Her parents divorced when she was 7, and it changed Diana forever. In 1969, the family unit ruptured when Diana's mother reportedly abruptly left her father, for Peter Shand Kidd, an Australian wallpaper tycoon. Following an intense custody battle, in which Frances's mother, Ruth, testified against her, the Spencer children lived with their father permanently. According to her brother Charles, Diana felt abandoned by the mother. While she was packing her stuff to leave, she promised Diana she'd come back to see her. Diana used to wait on the doorstep for her, but she never came. Charles, who was 2 when their parents divorced, said Diana was like a mother figure to him. She was the big sister who mothered me as a baby, and endured those long train journeys between our parents' homes with me at weekends, he told. Diana's mother and her husband eventually settled on a small Scottish island off the coast of Oban, where she opened a gift shop. Diana reportedly didn't get along well with her father's second wife, socialite Rain Legg. Charles's 4 children were not informed of their wedding, nor were they invited to the party.
At the age of 19, you always think you're prepared for everything, and you think you have the knowledge of what's coming ahead. But although I was daunted at the prospect at the time, I felt I had the support of my husband-to-be.
Diana did live a low-key life for a little while in London. Her biographers all extensively cover the period during which she lived in London with roommates and worked several low-paying jobs, most famously as a preschool aide. This put her in further contrast with her future husband, Prince Charles, who was the first ever heir apparent in British history to earn a college degree. Diana worked as a nanny making just $5 an hour. An American businesswoman, Mary Robertson, living in London, hired 18-year-old Diana to look after her children in 1980. Robertson said she fell in love with her. Before Charles met Diana, he briefly dated her sister Sarah. In fact, she's the one who introduced him. Sarah briefly dated Prince Charles, but it was not meant to last. She reportedly said to Time magazine in 1978, "There is no chance of my marrying him. I'm not in love with him. And I wouldn't marry anyone I didn't love, whether he were the dustman or the King of England." However, it was through Sarah that Charles and Diana first met, at a shooting party in 1977 at the Spencer family home in Norfolk, when Diana was 16 and Charles was 29. Meanwhile, Prince Charles recalled the first meeting in a 1981 interview with The Telegraph. "I remember thinking what a very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was. I mean, great fun, and bouncy and full of life and everything."
What did he think of your interests?
Well, I don't think I was allowed to have any. I think that I've always been the 18-year-old girl he got engaged to, so I don't think I've been given any credit for growth. And my goodness, I've had to grow.
While Diana added that her first impression of Charles was that he was pretty amazing. Charles and Diana didn't start dating for several more years. Once Charles's relationship with Sarah fizzled, the Prince and Diana did not see each other again until 1980, when both she and Charles were invited to stay at Philip de Pass's house in Sussex. Diana quote, "He'd just broken up with his girlfriend and his father, like Louis Mountbatten, had just been killed. I said it would be nice to see him. We were talking about Mountbatten and his girlfriend, and I said, 'You must be so lonely.' I said, 'It's pathetic watching you walking up the aisle with Mountbatten's coffin in front, ghastly, you need someone beside you.' Whereupon he leapt upon me and started kissing me, and I thought, this is not what people do. And he was all over me for the rest of the evening, following me around like a puppy." The couple started dating quickly despite the 12-year age difference. Most of the courtship took place over the phone. They reportedly only met in person 13 times before Charles proposed marriage.
Because my husband and I, we were told when we got engaged that the media would go quietly, and it didn't. And then when we were married, they said it would go quietly, and it didn't. And then it started to focus very much on me. And I seemed to be on the front of a newspaper every single day, which is an isolating experience. And the higher the media place you, is the bigger the drop. And I was very aware of that.
Paparazzi started camping outside Diana's London apartment when news broke that she and Charles were spending time together. As a result, Diana couldn't walk down the street without getting accosted by cameras. Overnight transition from an unknown British teen to a celebrity. In her first years as a royal princess, Diana was as fascinated with the press as they were with her. She went on to grace every magazine cover and quickly became the most photographed woman in the world. But over the years, the relationship changed, becoming more invasive and, in many opinions, dangerous.
What evidence did you have that their relationship was continuing even though you were married?
A woman's instinct is a very good one.
A young Prince Charles faced one inescapable demand of royal life: he needed a bride. Marriage was the first step in producing heirs to the throne and would provide a partner to sit by his side as queen when he became king. But the prince couldn't have just anyone fill this role. His potential bride had to be highly born, have a virginal reputation, and could not be Catholic. The latter was a legal requirement at the time. In addition, this woman had to be willing to live within the strictures of royal life. Before meeting Diana, Charles was in an on and off relationship to a married woman, Camilla, and she did not fit the royal requirements to be his bride. However, even as they fell for each other, Camilla was never a likely candidate to become Charles's bride. She was from a well-off family, but she wasn't an aristocrat. Mountbatten had also counseled Charles: "I think it is disturbing for women to have experiences if they have to remain on a pedestal after marriage." It was expected that Charles's princess-to-be would have a pure reputation, and Camilla wasn't a virgin. For the royal family, Diana was a perfect bride. Virgin, educated, aristocratic. She was a perfect fit for Charles despite the 12-year age gap.
What were the expectations that you had for married life?
I think like any marriage, especially when you've had divorced parents like myself, you'd want to try even harder to make it work, and you don't want to fall back into a pattern that you've seen happen in your own family. I desperately wanted to work. I desperately loved my husband, and I wanted to share everything together. And I thought that we were a very good team.
What was the cause?
Cause was a situation where my husband and I had to keep everything together because we didn't want to disappoint the public. And yet, obviously, there was a lot of anxiety going on within our four walls.
The event was hailed as a fairy tale wedding at the time, which may have been closer to the truth than we thought. During the first year of their marriage, Princess Diana was having a hard time adjusting to the royal lifestyle. No one ever properly understood just how much her dysfunctional personal life and a cold relationship with her husband affected her. She was alone all the time during her pregnancy, even though she was chased by the media everywhere she went. Princess Diana never openly discussed what she was going through.
Yes, I did. I had bulimia for a number of years. And that's like a secret disease you inflicted upon yourself because your self-esteem is at a low ebb and you don't think you're worthy or valuable. You fill your stomach up 4 or 5 times a day, some do it more, and it gives you a feeling of comfort. It's like having a pair of arms around you, but it's temporary. Then you're disgusted at the bloatedness of your stomach, and then you bring it all up again. And it's a repetitive pattern, which is very destructive to yourself.
It wasn't long after the wedding before you became pregnant. What was your reaction when you learned that the child was a boy?
Enormous relief. I felt the whole country was in labour with me. And enormous relief, but I had actually known William was going to be a boy because the scan had shown it, so it was no surprise.
In 1983, the Princess of Wales undertook her first overseas tour and her first ever trip abroad at just 22 years of age. Princess Diana, Prince Charles, and a baby Prince William spent more than 40 days in Australia and New Zealand, seeing the sights and meeting with dignitaries and locals alike. Amidst some media criticism, she decided to take William, and the decision was popularly applauded. During that tour, the crowds would plainly tell Charles, "Bring your wife over," rather than fawn over the prince.
We went to Alice Springs, to Australia, and we went and did a walkabout, and I said to my husband, "What do I do now?" And he said, "Go over to the other side and speak to them." I said, "I can't, I just can't." He said, "Well, you've got to do it." And he went off and did his bit, and I went off and did my bit. It practically finished me off there and then, and I suddenly realised, I went back to our hotel room, and realised the impact that, I had to sort myself out. We had a 6-week tour, 4 weeks in Australia and 2 weeks in New Zealand. And by the end, when we flew back from New Zealand, I was a different person. I realised the sense of duty, the level of intensity of interest, and the demanding role I now found myself in. We'd be going around Australia, for instance, and all you could hear was, "Oh, she's on the other side." Now, if you're a man, or my husband, a proud man, you mind about that. You hear it every day for 4 weeks, and you feel low about it, instead of feeling happy and sharing it.
When you say she's on the other side, what do you mean?
Well, they weren't on the right side to wave at me or to touch me.
So they were expressing a preference even then for you rather than your husband?
Yes, which I felt very uncomfortable with, and I felt it was unfair because I wanted to share.
The marriage between Prince Charles and Diana was never easy. Despite of that, Diana and Charles had been working at their marriage, and had grown very close for a while. In the 15th of September 1984, Diana gave birth to the second child, Prince Harry. Princess Diana became known as the People's Princess as the time passes by. Despite being part of the royal family, she also understood the enormity of her platform and used that to elevate causes close to her heart, all while connecting and bonding with the public and the way she bonded with commoners. This, among many other reasons, brought the royal family closer to the public and made them feel more relatable.
What role did you see for yourself as Princess of Wales? Did you have an idea of the role that you might like to fulfil?
No, I was very confused by which area I should go into. Then I found myself being more and more involved with people who were rejected by society, I'd say drug addicts, alcoholism, battered this, battered that, and I found an affinity there. And I respected very much the honesty I found on that level of people I met, because in hospices, for instance, when people are dying, they're much more open and more vulnerable and much more real than other people, and I appreciated that.
In 1992, Prince Charles and Camilla's relationship was exposed to the world. A private conversation between the pair was leaked to the press, leading to the Prince and Princess of Wales separation announcement on December 9, 1992.
Around 1986, again according to the biography written by Jonathan Dimbleby about your husband, he says that your husband renewed his relationship with Mrs. Camilla Parker Bowles. Were you aware of that?
Yes, I was. But I wasn't in a position to do anything about it.
Is that all?
Well, I had knowledge of it.
From staff?
Well, from people who minded and cared about our marriage, yes.
What effect did that have on you?
Pretty devastating.
In 1994, Prince Charles, in TV documentary interview, admits to infidelity.
And with a husband who was having a relationship with somebody else?
Was a husband who loved someone else, yes.
You really thought that?
Mm-hmm. I didn't think that, I knew it.
How did you know it?
By the change of behavioural pattern in my husband, for all sorts of reasons that a woman's instinct produces. You just know. It was already difficult, but it became increasingly difficult.
In a practical sense, how did it become difficult?
Well, people were, when I say people, I mean friends on my husband's side, were indicating that I was, again, unstable, sick, and should be put in a home of some sort in order to get better. I was almost an embarrassment.
Do you think he really thought that?
Well, there's no better way to dismantle a personality than to isolate it.
So you were isolated?
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
On the 20th of December, Buckingham Palace announced that the Queen had sent letters to Charles and Diana. urging the couple to divorce. In August 1996, the prince and princess reached a final agreement to divorce. However, Princess Diana began dating Dodi Fayed. He was an Egyptian film producer and the son of billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed.
Time involving Diana, Princess of Wales. And it has just been reported that Robin Cook, the British foreign...
...mentions of these paparazzi who were on motorcycles or scooters.
Now we can report that the British Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, speaking in the Philippines, has just confirmed that Diana, Princess of Wales, has died following the car crash at midnight in Paris.
You know, the campaign was, in that point, was being successful. But it did surprise the people who were causing the grief. It did surprise them when I took myself out of the game. They hadn't expected that. And I'm a great believer that you should always confuse the enemy.
Who was the enemy?
Well, the enemy was my husband's department, because I always got more publicity. My work was discussed much more than him, and, you know, from that point of view I understand it. But I was doing good things, and I wanted to do good things. I was never going to hurt anyone. I was never going to let anyone down.
But you really believe that it was out of jealousy that they wanted to undermine you?
I think it was out of fear, because here was a strong woman doing her bit, and where was she getting her strength from to continue? I've taken the children to all sorts of areas where I'm not sure anyone of that age in this family's been before. And they have a knowledge. They may never use it, but the seed is there. And I hope it will grow, because knowledge is power.
What are you hoping that experience for your children, what impact that experience will have on your children?
I want them to have an understanding of people's emotions, people's insecurities, people's distress, and people's hopes and dreams.
What kind of monarchy do you anticipate?
I would like a monarchy that has more contact with its people. And I want to reassure all those people who have loved me and supported me throughout the last 15 years that I'd never let them down. That is a priority to me, along with my children.